My question is regarding the relevance of bodily integrity for the Christian. Considering an individual Christian feeling divided facing the question of submission to a secular authority to take a compulsory shot under the skin, given the spirit-filled St. Paul explicitly calls Christians to be in submission to civil authorities, while it is also true that the early church defied civil orders when meeting in the catacombs meant maintaining their identity by gathering as the body of Christ. Given we are called to be holy, live by faith, and to be obedient to Christ, what else might we consider in this dilemma? Is maintaining the integrity of the body in context of secular authority an important value for the Christian? All right, so you guys are bringing me into the dark question. So, yes, we are called to submit to authority as Christians. We are called to submit to authority to the extent that the authority does not ask us something which is contrary to our submission to Christ. Right? The Christians were asked to sacrifice to the Roman emperor, or to burn incense for the Roman emperor, and they refused to do that. And some of them were killed because of that. Some of them were burned at the stake. Burned at the stake. Burned at the stake. Man, that was weird. No, they were killed in the arena mostly. But the question of what's going on right now with the idea of a mandatory vaccine, I think that we need to be very attentive to. To me, it's not as much the question of bodily integrity. And like Mathieu has been really talking to me about this recently, and it's been preoccupying him quite a bit, to the extent that he almost accepted to make a new video with me because he's been so preoccupied by that. Both himself and myself, we've talked about the question of the vaccine in our writings, in our videos, about how it's an image of death turned against death, and how it's an image of using death in order to fight off death. And so we have emphasized the positive aspect of the vaccine. But it is not only positive, there is also a negative aspect to vaccines, because it is taking death into yourself. There is a negative aspect to it. It can be a negative aspect to it. Now, it's not so much the question of bodily integrity, which is a problem, I think, for us right now. I think the question we have right now is rather the question of control, and the question of the problem that is happening is mostly the problem 666 that I've talked about in my different videos. It's the problem of trying to account for everything, and trying to account for the margin, or using the margin to account for everything, using the exception to account for everything. And we talked about that in terms of the weird situation of the Apple CEO, of these kind of weird hate speech laws, and the way that they try to have all the marginal identities be included, to a point where someone who just wants to have integrity, in that way, bodily integrity could be an image of it. The only person that is excluded is the one who wants to maintain integrity, and those are the only ones that are being excluded. And so anybody who wants to hold on to any identity, like any normal identity, is dangerous of being pushed out, whereas all the marginal stuff is being brought in. And so the vaccine can also be an image of that as well, especially if it is tied to control, and especially if it is tied to identification. And so if there is a vaccine if there is this idea that you are given a vaccine, and by this vaccine you are included in society, and without the vaccine, you are excluded from society. I think that that's the place where Christians have to really, really wonder whether or not this is the right thing to do, and whether or not this is really approaching 666 symbolism in a manner that's too hot to handle. So take it for what it is, guys. I don't know what's going to happen. So when things start to play out, maybe I will have to be more explicit about that. But for now, I would say just be attentive. Nobody is forcing us to do anything for now, that in terms of our bodily integrity. So we just need to be attentive and keep talking about it. So, all right.